Hello, welcome to the video. Today I'm going to be talking about some of the books that I've recently read. Actually, the start of the year, everything I've read in January and February, how my start of the reading year is going. It's actually going pretty well. I'm surprised. Last year, the winter period was kind of my worst reading period, and I read only like 3 books, I think, in 2 months. This time I read 9 books, which I'm very happy with. I read 5 in January and I read 4 in February. Overall, it was a good start. There were some disappointments, just books that fell a little bit flat, but there were also some real bangers. I feel like I've had a good balance of the brain rot, I just want to enjoy my reading time books, and the I'm an intellectual reading books. And yeah, I'm gonna talk to you guys about them. We're gonna get started because I'm a yapper. I talk so much. So I wanna get through this before this video is 2 hours long. If you do want to listen to me talk a little bit more about some of these books, I've got a vlog of January where I talk about some of these books while reading them. More of my thoughts are in them, so I will link that video down below if you are interested. I got a lot of my books from the library these 2 months. We're in a library season right now. I'm doing such a good job at trying to read more from the library because also it's the last year that I can loan books for free. So I'm really making use of it. 6 out of the 9 books were from the library. So make sure to use your libraries today, you know, like show them some love. Let's start with January. I read 5 books. The first book that I read is Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. And I immediately want to say, this was already one of the disappointments of the year. I give it 2.5 stars. 2.5 stars is a pretty low rating for me. It's not that bad, but it most times means that although that I did finish the book and somewhat enjoyed it, I do have my faults with it and would probably not pick up it again. I would not read it again or recommend it. The book follows an ice skater and a hockey player in college, how they kind of fall in love with each other, and it follows just also their friend group a little bit. And I think my biggest problem with it is that it didn't really have a clear plot. It didn't have a clear arc of what was exactly going to happen in the book or what we were going to be doing or following. I feel like we were just following kind of the whims of the characters, which I don't always mind. I do like those kind of books. A Little Life, one of my favorite books, also just mostly follows the characters and what they're doing. But with this, I don't know, it felt so much like a Wattpad book. And also in my review, I wrote like, this would have done numbers on Wattpad. Why? Because it's mostly smut and fluff and like just those like in-between chapters that don't really do anything for the plot are just like fun vibes. That is what this book is almost entirely. It just wasn't my favorite thing. I thought it was too quick to get into the romance. It was meh. It was not greatly written. It's mostly, to me, it's a Wattpad book. It's a Wattpad book. It's not good, but it was fine. Next we have Between the World and Me from Ta-Nehisi Coates, and I gave this book 5 stars. This was amazing. This was really great. This is nonfiction where we follow, I think it's also like, it's a memoir kind of as well, because we follow Ta-Nehisi Coates talk to his son about what his experience is being Black in America and being a father in America. Even though it's nonfiction, it's not the informational kind of nonfiction, it's more of the emotional kind of nonfiction, and that's why I also kind of say that it's a memoir. I have such a weak point for stories that are about their parents and the children and kind of the relationships between them. I have the same thing with On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous. I love that book and I love this book. It just always kind of makes me emotional to talk about like that bond. And also this was just a beautifully written book. I've highlighted multiple parts in the books because it's just such an amazing writing, and it's really moving to read about this. As someone who's grown up white in Europe, this is a very different experience to mine, but I really appreciated hearing about it and just experiencing this. And also, I'm not a father, but this book oh, it hit very hard. I would recommend 5 stars. Next, we have Kitchen by Banana Yoshimoto. This is a translated literary fiction from Japanese. It's 2 short stories in 1 book. One is called Kitchen, the other one is called The Moonlight Market? No, Moonlight something, I feel like. Memory. I don't remember. I'm sorry. I returned the book already back to the library, so I can't check it. I give this book 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed it. The poetic writing was really beautiful, as well as the themes that it talked about. It's a lot about grief, and it's a lot about loneliness. And like I say in my reading vlog, Yoshimoto is the ultimate sad girl. I feel like she really knows what it's like to be like a lonely young adult growing up in like a city and just like loving life, but also kind of feeling lost inside of it. And that's what I really loved about this writing as well. It's sad and melancholic, but also quite hopeful. I would also recommend reading this book. I immediately gave it to a friend of mine and she also loved it. Next, we have One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. I gave this book 3.25, which I know is a weird rating. I normally don't rate in like quarters. I think to me this book was slightly better than like a 3, which to me a 3 is like meh, average. But it was not as good as a 3.5. To me is like, oh yeah, I enjoyed this. Because I did think this book was mediocre and I did enjoy it. Both of those things happened at the same time. So yeah, that's why 3.25. The genre of this book is romantasy, and we follow Elizabeth, our main character, who got infected when she was a child. Normally in this world of Blunder, infected children, they get killed, they get murdered, but she somehow survived. And there's this monster living inside of her, the Nightmare. She doesn't know how he got there. She's trying to find out what exactly he is, while also she eventually starts helping the captain of the Destiers, which is the bad organization that kills all the kids. She starts helping him collect cards, which are like a magical, like the magic system in their world where they use cards for things and they want to collect the deck to solve this thing. I'm doing a very bad job at explaining this plot. I'm sorry about that. My thoughts are, I didn't get enough information in this book to truly appreciate it. Although I did read this quite quickly and I enjoyed reading it. I could have read this in 1 day. I just feel like we got so little from this book when I wanted so much more. That's why I'm leaning towards thinking that it was slightly mediocre, because this is not gonna sit with me very long. I'm gonna forget about this book pretty soon. So yeah, that was slightly disappointing because I've heard a lot of great things about this book and people who absolutely loved it. And I didn't hate it. I just didn't love it. The last book I read in January is Iron Flame, which is the second book to Fourth Wing. Fourth Wing is a pretty popular series. It's a romantasy series that is a lot about dragons, and yeah, I don't really know how to explain the plot any better than that. It's romance, there's dragons, there's this like fighting school. It gave me heavy Divergent vibes when I started it, and that's why I loved the first book. I gave the first book 5 stars. I gave this book 3.5 stars. My biggest thoughts on this book are, it's too long and it dragged out, to my opinion. I feel like most of the story fell a little bit flat, as though there wasn't really a clear direction we were going in, and we were mostly just like kind of trying to fill up the time and not really moving anywhere with the story, which kind of frustrated me because this book was over 600 pages. So it's like, why are we getting stuck in these 600 pages? I want to like continue on with the story. Things just could have been scrapped and could have been shorter. I did like the end twist of this book, which will probably make me pick up the third book anyway. So yeah, I thought that this was enjoyable, but nothing to write home about. I did DNF one book in January, and that was Everyone in This Room Will Someday Be Dead. I DNF'd this at around 50%. And although I did enjoy the writing style, because it was very short snippets constantly, it was not like one flowing story, but it was like constantly we're kind of checking in with our main character. I decided to put it down because our character clearly has some mental problems going on, which is fine, but I feel like just the decisions that she makes give me personally anxiety, and she kind of spirals a lot and thinks a lot about death, and it's making me spiral and think about death. I kind of read to escape the real world, and herein I feel like you just get so bombarded with the real world and real like thoughts. We follow our main character as she cannot hold on to a job, and she then is dealing with some things and she wants to get help, and she finds a flyer that's like, oh, get help here, and she goes there and she turns up at a church and she's like, what the fuck am I doing at a church? And then the pastor is like, oh, welcome, are you here for the job? And she's like, I mean, I need a job, so sure. And then she's the receptionist at a church, and yeah, she just is very awkward, and she's like, I'm not religious at all, and she's a lesbian and she's trying to cover it up. It's a fun story. It's just, I was just not really vibing 100% with it. Now we're continuing on to February, where I started the month with one of my favorite books, and I'm so surprised, and I think you'll be surprised too because of what I've rated some of the other books in this video. The Love Hypothesis, I gave like 4.5 stars, maybe even 5 stars. I want to rate this. I ate this book up. I love this book so much, and that surprises me because I rated Icebreaker quite low, as well as some of the other popular like book talk books in here, and so I was expecting to hate read this, as I've done with some other books with my friends. We kind of hate read some books because we're like, oh, this is gonna be ridiculous, this is gonna be like a stupid romance, and we're gonna giggle at it, but we're gonna think it's stupid. But I love this book, you know, like I don't think I've enjoyed a romance book this much in such a long time. We follow our main character who's a PhD student. She has been dating this one guy and she no longer is dating him, and her best friend wants to date him, and she wants to make sure her best friend does this. She's like, you know, girly, do this. But she's afraid her best friend won't because of girl code. So she's like, okay, well, I'm gonna like fake date someone so that my best friend will. And she accidentally starts fake dating her professor. Well, not her personal professor, but another guy who works at the school. And yes, and it's so cute because he's so awkward. But he clearly likes her so much. He clearly is like kind of like in love with her, and it's adorable. It's so cute. I recommend reading this book. It's just gonna, I was just smiling the whole time while reading it, and I'm smiling the whole time while talking about it. I've never before wanted to reread a book quite literally 10 minutes after finishing it. Like, this has never happened to me before. The second book that I read was Chaos Theory by Nick Stone. I gave this book 3 stars. It is a YA contemporary like romance book, and I was feeling the love in February. I wanted to read some romances. I thought this was meh, but I think that's mostly me and not necessarily the story. We follow our female character Shelby. She has bipolar disorder, and we follow Andy, who's dealing with a lot of grief and alcoholism, and how they kind of fall in love. It's really like a YA whirlwind romance story where it's like they fall in love very quickly because they're teenagers and they start getting like infatuated with each other. And I feel like the reason why I rated this so low wasn't necessarily because of the book, because the writing was nice, and I really like the themes that it talked about. It talked about some taboo things that I feel like not a lot of YA books try to handle. I think it's personally why I rated it low was because I've just grown out of the YA book genre. I'm turning 24 this year, and I've started realizing that I'm not really feeling very connected to YA anymore, and it's kind of upsetting because it's realizing that I'm getting old. But just like the teenage behavior, I just no longer really connect with, and that's fine. It's just kind of sad because I have so many YA books that I've heard great things about that I want to read. I just don't think that I will enjoy them as much as I would have enjoyed them if I was younger. Next we have the book Cemetery Boys by Aidan Thomas. I gave this book 4 stars, and this is a YA book. so I can enjoy YA books occasionally. I think what helped here is that it was fantasy and as well kind of a murder mystery. And it wasn't solely focused on the romance. Here we follow Jadriel, who is a trans guy, and he wants to be a brujot, which is kind of like this magical, like, guy. I don't know how to say it. It's not like they're witches or anything, but it's like within this community there's guys who are magical and they like sever spirits from the world, and women who are magical and they kind of like heal people. And he's like, I want to prove that I can be a brujot, which is like a magical guy who will like sever spirits, but he's not really accepted by the community because he's trans. But he's like, no, I'm gonna prove them. And then he like releases the spirit, which is Julian, which is one of like the bad boys of the school. And they together try to like figure out how Julian was murdered. So they go on this whole path while also trying to prove Jadriel like fits in with the community. And it's, I don't know, it was just such a fun story with a lot of intrigue. We were following this mystery and a lot of things were going on, and just the romance was good. The relationships were good. The characters were interesting. So yes, I give this 4 stars because I did enjoy this quite a lot. Now the last book that I finished is De meeste mensen, deugen, which is a very chunky nonfiction. This is also a Dutch book. The English translation for it is something like A Hopeful History of Humanity or something. And I hate the title of the translated English book because it isn't what this means. De meeste mensen deugen kind of means most people are okay. Most people are alright. Most people aren't assholes. That's kind of what this implies. And I don't like this, like, the hopeful history of humanity. Although that is what basically this book entails. I think this is just such a Dutch way of, like, saying it. Of saying, like, most people are fine. Most people aren't that bad. Because I picked this book up because I'm very much a pessimist that has anxiety and starts like doom thinking about everything and the world. I kind of want to be more of an optimist because who am I helping with my pessimism? Like, who am I helping with being negative about the world and people? No one. So I decided to pick this up and I really enjoyed it more than I thought I would. At first, I thought this was going to be kind of like a self-help book, being kind of like, oh, but just look on the bright side, blah, 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 which I would have disliked. But this is more of a historical book where we go through the history of mankind, and our writer Rutger Bergman kind of proves that a lot of theories where we think like, oh, we're bad people, like humanity is bad, gets disproven. And I think that's great because it's mostly based on just experiments and actual like science and history, and so it's super informative. And this book has made me look differently at the world, at a lot of things. Today still, like, there's such a doom thinking within our generation where we constantly see everything bad going on within the world, but it's an echo chamber on internet. It's constantly repeated, like climate change, housing crisis, Trump presidency, war in Palestine, war in Ukraine. We're thinking about all the terrible things, but not thinking about, like, you know, the goodness of humanity and being good to your neighbor. And all of this hate is only creating more hate. So if you want to read an informational book about the fact that we are actually can be good people if we try to be, I would recommend picking this up. This changed my thinking process. We're ending this video on a bad note because I DNF'd Rhapsodic at 80%. And I have some opinions, so I'm gonna talk to you guys about them. I'm gonna rant a little bit because in this book we follow our main character Calypso in 2 different timelines. One is where she's 16 and one is 7 years later when she's 23. This book takes place in our world where there are magical creatures, and we know that there's like kind of magic going on. There's like werewolves. Calypso herself is a siren, and there's also a creature, something called the Bargainer. He's actually a fae prince, but we get to that later. You can make a deal with the Bargainer where you can like ask something of him and then he asks back a price. You know, you have to give something back. So basically we follow 2 timelines. Calypso 16, Calypso 23. Calypso 16, she murders her stepfather because he's abusing her, and realizes, oh fuck, I'm gonna get in so much trouble because within a week I am 16, and she then will be charged as an adult because she is an adult within, not with the human world, but within the magical system. She's a adult at 16, so she will get charged fully for her murder. So she calls the bargainer being like, hey bro, like help me out please. And he's like, I don't do stuff with minors because like I'm not evil, you know, so clearly he's not a minor, clearly he's an adult. So he's like, yeah, no, fuck no, I'm not fucking with this, I'm not fucking with like minors and stuff, which I understand, but she's like, please, 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 I'm like, within a week I'm no longer a minor. So he's like, fine, whatever. They make a bargain and he doesn't ask anything of her, like she's not in his debt, it's fine, we move on. A couple weeks later, she again bargains with him because like some news has come out that this guy was murdered, and she's like, oh, I need you to cover it up some more. So they make a bargain again, and they keep making bargains and more and more and more, mostly because she's lonely and she doesn't have any friends and she just wants to hang out with him because she thinks he's interesting. And that's where you're following one storyline of the beginning of their relationship, their friendship. 7 years later, the bargainer comes back and he's finally back to collect because she now has like 300 bargains that she made, and favors that she has to give back. And we kind of follow them from there. A lot of the favors are like romantically inclined, and they're just going on this adventure and like the romance is starting. This was all fine. I kind of like this dynamic of this older guy and this like teenage girl and them kind of bonding, as long as it was just bonding, right? But we get to the 80%. And they've bonded, and the other like timeline, they're being romantic, and I'm kind of feeling a bit weird about this because we're going into some strange territory within the 16-year-old. I'm gonna read you a little bit of a quote that I have saved. He begins stalking towards me, his eyes raking over my body, his gaze hungry. She's 16! He's being a fucking predator, because I thought it was all cute and sweet if like nothing sexual at all or romantic was happening. If it was just a friendship, that would have been fine. And if then like 10 years, I wish it was 10 years later, I wish it was more time in between, then it gets romantic. It's not, it's kind of strange, it's kind of weird, but that's fine. But no, don't make it romantic, don't make it like strange when she's 16, because it's starting to get that way. Another part I'm gonna read is, I'm so goddamn happy because he likes me. I like him. He took me to the dance. And as far as the supernatural world is concerned, I'm legally an adult. This can work. It cannot work. You are 16. You are not an adult. I'm mostly frustrated at this writer for literally creating a law where she's like, oh, she's 16, she can be an adult. It's fine. When it's not fine, when it's not okay, when it's weird and it's creepy and I don't like it, and I couldn't, like, I had to put the book down and I was like, no, this has gone too far. This is gross now. No, I did not like that. I did not like that. The only way I got through it for the first half of the book was imagining that she was 19, because I'm like, at 19 you can still be kind of like childish and teenager like, but you're still legally an adult, and the relationship would have still made sense. I don't understand why the author made her 16 in this book and then decided to have like this romantic thing and basically explain later that the bargainer has been pining over her for these 7 years, so pining over her since she was 16. I'm like, no, that's grossing me out. That was kind of everything that I read in these last 2 months. I hope you enjoyed this video of me yapping a lot about them. Yeah, I would love to hear what you guys read. If you guys have any recommendations that you think I might like, then please drop them down below. And I will see you guys in the next video.